I want to hear your thoughts on artificial intelligence, AI for sure, and what you think of how things are right now, like the way things are looking in the future.
It's no bueno for me.
You're taking the no
and
bueno
I
this
stole
week?
the no bueno
Damn.
this week. Boom.
Yeah, motherfucker. We're gonna take it up a few notches right now. See if y'all can keep up.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of the ScruffCast. I'm John.
And I'm Dan.
We got some exciting news this week. After a follow-up to last week's podcast, we got our first listener email.
Super exciting.
Super exciting. Moment in ScruffCast history. A listener from Chicago wrote into us at ScruffCast, SCRUFFcast, @gmail.com, and said, "Tell me the story about Dan's dad.
Oh, boy.
I got to hear this foot and mouth story. Last week, you teased a story that you weren't sure if you should tell on the podcast.
Yeah.
A time where your dad put his foot in his mouth.
Yeah, I did. All right, I guess I'll tell it.
All right, share.
Okay, so it's like, I don't know, it's kind of a messed up story, but the whole ending is really funny. So, family friend of ours, a friend of my mom's, her husband took his own life one day, and I don't know how to say this in a nice way. He shot himself. That's how he did it. Anyway, there's a point to this. Like, this adds to the story. So my dad comes home from work one day. This is a couple weeks later. He comes home from work one day, and my mom's friend's over, and they're just hanging out in the kitchen or whatever. So she turns to my dad and says, like, "Oh, how was your day?" And my dad turns around and says to her, like, like, you ever just have those days, like, you just want to, like, shoot yourself in the head? And instead, as soon as he said it, he was just like, oh.
I don't know if
That's it. That's the story.
I don't know if you could put your foot in your mouth any harder than that.
That's a bad one, yeah.
That might be as bad as it gets.
So, yeah, he did that, and he said she didn't even react to it. Like, she probably didn't even notice, but there's times like that where that stuff happens, man. Those foot and mouth situations are... I think that's the worst one I heard.
That's pretty bad.
That's a very delicate situation, and that's like a size 20. That's a Shaq shoe in your mouth right there.
That's a big old shoe. I wonder if it's because, like, you kind of subconsciously think about these things.
There is a term. There's a term for it, actually.
Like, it's subliminal messaging or
yeah,
something like that?
It's like something. I don't.
Oh, a Freudian slip.
Freudian slip. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a proper term for it. Anyway,
people smarter than us.
Yeah,
have come up with this stuff.
That's the story. There's not much else to it. But really quick, I want to take a second to acknowledge how good that beat is at the beginning of our podcast.
Yes, our lovely intro.
And that artist is Pat Earns. You can check him out on YouTube, probably. I'm sure his stuff's up there. Paternz. I think that's how you spell it.
Might be EARNZ.
Yeah, it's definitely that.
Either or. Maybe we'll get our second listener email when he writes in to correct us.
Yeah, probably. He let us use the song anyway. It's a good song. He's got lots of good music. Go check him out.
All right. Now let's flow into some of the more current events, Dan.
Okay.
There was a bit of a scare in Hawaii. I believe just yesterday, the day before we're recording
I think
this.
it was... Or Saturday?
Saturday or Sunday.
Saturday morning, maybe?
Yeah, so you want to tell the listeners about what happened?
Yeah, so apparently the Hawaiian government or whatever sent out like a mass emergency alert to people's phones, on TV, the whole bit, saying that ballistic missiles were shot and for everybody to take cover.
Yeah, there's something built into like Android and iPhones that actually listens to these like broadcasts for these emergency events, and then it sort of overtakes everything on your phone. It takes priority and puts it like right on top of all the other apps and says like,
yeah, it's like
I believe the message is like, this is not a drill.
Yeah, it's like you get like it's like getting a message update on your phone or something like that. It's the same kind of thing. A little
just comes right
on
up.
the iPhone anyway. That's how it works. Like a little tab that comes up, says like emergency alert.
Yeah, I believe Android works the same way.
And whatever. But anyway, and I think it lasted for like I think it was like 38 minutes before people started finding out that it was like a false alarm. Or
that
whatever.
long.
But like I went on Twitter and I was reading like Because at first, I first opened it up, I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. I can't believe they screwed that up. Ha ha ha. But then, like, you start reading, like, some of the people's reactions and stuff like that. And it's like, man, it was actually really sad because people are, like, saying, like, oh, like, showing, like, messages that they had with, like, family members, like, saying, like, oh, I love you, blah, blah, this and that. Like, they're thinking these are, like, their last minutes on Earth. And they're texting the people and they're doing whatever they can, right?
It would be pretty scary for sure.
Yeah. And, like, there was one girl who, her mom lives in Hawaii, I guess. And, I don't know where she lives, but her mom texted her at, like, 8 in the morning. She was asleep at the time. She didn't, like, realize till after she got the phone. Her mom just sent her text saying, I love you. She was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And then she found out all this stuff, and she was like, oh, my God. Like, that was my mom's last thing she was going to say to me right there. That's what she thought her last text message was. It's like,
that's really chilling to think
I know,
about.
like,
it's so weird.
At first, like, I thought it was a funny thing, and the more I thought about it, I was like, this is actually really sad. All these people, like, just assumed they were going to die. That's it. Like, that was it.
And you have to imagine a lot of people, like, on vacation.
Oh, yeah. There was another one, too, where it's, some guy showed a text message conversation with his friend, and he's like, oh, my buddy's on vacation right now. And he was in, like, I don't know if it was in, like, a basement of the hotel or something like that, kind of like a little shelter. And in there with him was Magic Johnson.
Really?
Yeah. And then the guy, like, snuck a picture of Magic Johnson just sitting there on a chair. I was like, that's not a situation you can go over and ask for an autograph, I don't think.
No.
Hey, Magic, mind if I get an autograph? Come on, kid.
Yeah, he wants nothing to do
We're
with
about
you.
to die here.
That's pretty bizarre.
I already got AIDS. That's bad enough. Now we got this going on.
I can't imagine. I saw another good one on Twitter where a guy was showing his text messages with his dad, and he screenshotted the alert, I guess from somebody else, or he saw it on the internet, sent it to his dad, who was in Hawaii for, like, on a business trip, and his dad was like, yeah, I know, and this, like, just all casual, and the son is like, well, you all right? Like, what happened? And he's like, oh, yeah, I was standing in line at the buffet for breakfast. Cleared the place out, so I went up and got more food.
Yeah, I saw that
Just
one.
so chill.
That was funny.
You know what? If your time has come, you might as well go up for another Eggs Benedict or go back for that second set of pancakes. Why not? What do you got to lose?
Yeah, that's like the video I was just telling you about earlier, actually, where there was an older man, maybe in his 50s or 60s, and he was out on the golf course, and he made a video. And so he starts the video, he's like, if you're watching this, I didn't make it. He's like, I'm out on the golf course right now. I just parred my last hole, and I just hit the shiznit out of my ball, but, if this is the end, then I'm out golfing. And I was just like, it's kind of funny. It's still sad, but I was like, hey, at least that guy, he's out golfing. We like golf, obviously, so we can
There's a lot
relate
worse,
a little bit more to it, but it's like, if I was going to die, like, I guess golf course wouldn't be the worst
there's
place.
a lot worse ways to go, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
If we got an event like, or a notification like that, like some sort of ballistic missile coming to hit us, we live in, like, Canada, right? So we're not secluded like Hawaii. What would we do?
Yeah,
What
I
would
don't know.
be your reaction?
Yeah, seriously, where you have, like, I guess you don't know. It could be minutes, could be 10 minutes, could be 15 minutes.
Assume you have like a half hour or so.
Yeah, half hour. You now know you have a half hour to live. Oh boy, what do you do? There was another story I read where this guy had, what did he do? He had, like, I don't know, I guess a couple different kids or whatever, and so he was out in the morning dropping somebody off somewhere, and he was driving back, got this alert on his phone, and he had to choose who to spend his last minutes with, because he had a lot of family around the area, but they were all like 15 minutes in opposite directions.
Oh, man.
So he had to choose in that moment, like, who am I going to spend my last moments with? So he went and drove, like, to his house where his kids were, his youngest kids. I guess he's got older kids and youngest kids, so he chose his youngest kids, and that's who he went and spent the rest of like the last of his time with.
I can't even imagine. It's just so bizarre. The more you think about it, like, the worse it makes you feel.
We've
like,
just
oh,
started
man.
this podcast off on just such a sad note. This
Yeah.
whole thing, even the story was kind of like a...
I hope Pat earns, like, to shout out in the middle of all this depressing
That is the only
topics.
positive thing we've talked about so far.
Yeah, it's pretty
crazy
bummy.
situation. It's a good thing it was a false alarm, but, like, with
Thank
all
goodness.
the stuff going around with, like, North Korea and stuff like that, you never know, right? It's like, it's such a sensitive time right now for something like that to happen.
I don't know if there's been a case where these false alarms have gone out on, like, these phone services like this.
Yeah, I can't
so
think
if
of
you
anything.
were just on vacation or you lived in Hawaii and you looked at your phone and you saw this, like, you would have no reason to believe, like, oh, this is just fake. Because in the message, which is all in capitals, it says, this is not a drill. So you're like, This is not a drill.
Yeah, it's coming from like, yeah, it's an emergency alert. It's not drill.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. It's crazy.
Pretty bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, do we want to keep the train rolling of depressing topics?
Why
Talk about
not?
a more current news story, a little more local to us here in Canada.
Okay.
All right, I'll lead
Is
it
this
off.
oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
So there was an article or a news story that came out about a week ago. It was on the front page of some newspapers here in Canada.
Yeah, it's a big story here. Like the Prime Minister even like commented on it.
Yeah, about an 11-year-old girl was walking home from school with her brother, or walking to school, I believe. And 11-year-old Muslim girl, and so she was walking to school and she had a hijab on. And she claimed that some older man came up to her and her brother and attacked her and like used like a knife and actually like
Oh, I heard scissors.
put a big slash.
Yeah.
Or was it scissors? Okay. And like put a big cut in her hijab.
Started cutting it, yeah.
Yeah, so she claimed she was attacked. It was like a huge news story.
Okay, but what's like... Okay, yeah, continue. Finish the story out.
Yeah, so it was a huge news story. It was like made the cover of newspapers, and like it was like this whole big debate, right? Because you think like, wow, this is some sort of like serious hate crime going on.
Yeah, yeah. But, so it turns out, the little girl lied.
Yes.
And the police investigated everything and found no grounds that this even happened.
The whole thing was made up.
Yeah, the whole thing was made up. But what's kind of like funny is I went back and read like what this girl told the police. And so she told the police that the guy came up behind her and started cutting the thing and then ran away. And then came back again, started cutting it some more, and she turned around to confront him, and he just smiled and then ran away again. And like as I'm reading this, I was like, yeah, Jesus Christ, does that ever sound fake?
It's bizarre.
Like, it sounds like one of these like, like a cartoon character, like what was it, Rocky and Bullwinkle? It sounds like the evil I don't know.
I can't remember his name. The guy with the mustache.
Yeah, it sounds like him. Like comes up, like starts cutting the hijab, and then runs off, and then comes back, cuts more again.
The coming back part makes it a little harder to believe.
Yeah,
but you would think if you're the police, right? This is like a serious issue, right? You don't want like especially kids, right? Walking around having live in fear of things like this happening because of their religion or what, however they choose to practice their faith.
Yep.
And so it's like a serious issue. And then the police investigated, and there was no proof at all.
But I think like in a situation like this though, shouldn't the parents take some fault in this? I understand like maybe the kid comes home, tells the parents the same thing, and then the parents they go to the cops and they, you know what I mean, and they don't know. They don't know the little girl's lying, and this whole investigation comes out, and then maybe the little girl turns around and says, okay, no, it wasn't true. Yeah, okay, it's not the parents' fault, but that's like technically, isn't that like it's like mischief?
It is. Yeah, there's a term for it that I can't exactly remember, but you're like wasting taxpayers' money, right?
Exactly.
The police had to spend their time doing an investigation
where it was just all,
and it was like a huge story. It was like I saw tweets today about it that it was like, oh, here's our front page of the newspaper last week of the story that was like the big story of the week, and then it ended up being false. So then they had to have all these retractions saying like, oh, an update, this actually wasn't true.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's an interesting question. Are the parents to blame? Or not to blame, but should the parents take some sort of blame, or should they?
I think they should.
Have some sort of the responsibility?
The parent is responsible for what is she, 11, 12 years old? They're responsible for her, so whatever she does, they have to take fault for, right? I know it's not their fault, and like there's nothing they could have really done in that situation, but I think like it really that is kind of public mischief, the kind of like or mischief, whatever you want to call it, kind of is. But as far as I know, the police aren't following through with anything.
Yeah, I don't think
the
there's
family, right?
Any sort of charge or anything like that. But I can imagine like these sort of things set like sort of a dangerous precedent, because if an incident like this does happen, right, instantly people are gonna think back to this time and question it. Right?
Oh, you sure that's actually what happened?
Right, and then it sort of dilutes the water, if you will.
It's the exact same thing as all the sexual assault stuff going on right now in Hollywood.
Oh, it's bizarre.
It's the same thing because there's some that are really bad.
There's some that are really bad,
and then there's some that are like, so. You know, they're not great, but they're not that bad.
They're not as bad by comparison, but they're still bad.
Aziz Ansari, like his new one.
Yes, like there's all these allegations going around about so many different people in Hollywood, but this new expose, if you will, came out about him. Some girl, photographer that he had met at the Emmys earlier this year, after he won an Emmy.
Yeah.
Met up with him, and then they, had a nice time, exchanged phone numbers, stuff. Went out on a date, and then they went back up to his apartment, and it didn't really progress on terms both of them were comfortable with.
Yeah, if you want to find out more, just go read the article. We're not
it's easy enough to
thing,
Google for it. But basically, the gist of the story is things progressed, and she wasn't really comfortable with it, but she didn't really say anything in the moment. She felt kind of like trapped, kind of shocked.
She followed through with everything.
She followed through, and then felt terrible afterwards, and then messaged him about it, and he said he was sorry. And this was a couple months back now, and he recently won a Golden Globe, so she saw him on TV, and then it kind of triggered it again, and she went to some journalist outlet online, and then this whole article got written about him. And the thing is, these are some like heavy allegations on people all throughout Hollywood, and there's like a scale, right? Some of these things are like very major, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And some of these
even
things,
the Kevin Spacey stuff, man.
Even the Kevin Spacey stuff,
anything that involves kids or anything like that. That stuff, like that's.
But the crazy thing is, Dan, that's like old news. That happened like weeks ago. They're on to all these new people now. We forgot about Kevin Spacey.
No one's even thinking about Kevin Spacey now.
Yeah, he's going to the beach for vacation now. He's not in any movies anymore. They reshot him out of these movies.
I know.
So now he's just like, I got all my money. Like, there's no charges. There's nothing going on.
No, there's nothing they can do now.
Right? So it's
going to get to the point where there's going to be no Netflix shows anymore. They're all going to get canceled, man.
They're going to take them all down.
House of Cards is done. Master of None is going to be done next, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to our original point. It just goes to show, like, some of these things I think are worse than others, and some of them, aren't as bad. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with that, but
it doesn't mean
I think that's
kind
of what it is. And I think a lot of these situations too, I don't think it's black and white. I think there's a lot of gray area in a lot of these situations, especially that Aziz Ansari thing. There's a lot of gray area to that story.
Because I feel like people are on. It's like very binary. They're like either, wow, he's the worst guy ever. He just committed these terrible atrocities. Or it's like, wow, no, this girl's totally making this up. Aziz did nothing wrong. Maybe it's like a little gray area.
But maybe it's a little both.
Maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, we're just giving our opinions on this. We don't know the girl or we don't know Aziz. We can only read what's written. But I find in a lot of these stories, people have the allegations, and then Twitter and the internet just jump to hate these people and just attack them. Yeah. And it's like in the court of public opinion, they're just already guilty. Where there's no chance for the person to like comment on it or give their side of the story or anything like that. So it's I don't know. World's a messed up place right now, Dan.
It's guilty until proven innocent. That's kind of the way it all is. That's the way it goes. Right?
Because even if, let's say, this was proven to be 100% false, okay? Yeah. Like, let's say the story of the little girl got attacked with the hijab had like a name behind it, right? Like, oh no, this certain person, like a celebrity name or something like that, right? Even if it was, in this case, was proven false, or like in the Aziz Ansari case, it's proven false. If you Google Aziz Ansari, like sexual misconduct, sexual allegations, or harassment, anything like that, these stories are going to come up. If you Google Aziz Ansari, there's going to be like an autocorrect entry in there forever, even if his name is cleared, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. As long as you get accused, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Because for the rest of the time now, you'll be associated with it. Even if you did nothing wrong.
Exactly.
You'll be associated with it.
And, like, he could be totally guilty. We don't really know. But that's the thing. You can never really know.
No one will ever really know, right? But, I don't know. It's whatever. It's frustrating almost having this conversation because, like... it's just
what can we say?
What can we say? It's just a constant thing. Like, it's just... Like, when's it going to end? I don't think it ever will. I don't know if it should. I think people should be speaking out about stuff, but...
Of course.
I don't know. Whatever. Let's move on here.
All right.
What else we got?
Speaking of people speaking out about stuff, I got a topic to spitball at you here. So at the Golden Globes, Oprah gave like this great speech everybody was talking about on Twitter.
I heard.
And then now people have been saying, "Ooh, what if Oprah ran for president?" What are your thoughts on this?
I think celebrities should stop running for president. I think like people who study politics for a living should, be in politics.
People with some sort of governing experience.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. That's like Oprah being like, I want to be the new coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. But
That's
like on a way bigger scale.
Yeah.
Like thinking about it now, Jesus, the president's way worse. The fact that Trump is in there is just insane. You know what I mean? Why are we going to have Oprah in there now? I don't think either of them are fit. Apparently she apparently has no interest in running. It's like people just telling her
it was
she
just
should run.
the internet running away with it. I think the thing is, people are like, oh my God, the way things are now, we're so bad. And you see like the low-hanging fruit. You're like, wow, this has got to be way better. Oprah for president 2020. But the thing is, Oprah had a great speech. I'm sure she's a very nice, very kind-hearted person, right?
Yeah,
She
yeah.
loves to help people and stuff like this. She's a self-made woman, right? She's worth billions. Came up from nothing. Like the perennial, like rags to riches American dream story. But the thing is, what do we really know about what Oprah thinks about like certain things, right? Like, oh, what's her take on taxes? What's her take on like foreign policy? What does she think of the Iraq War? I don't know, because we don't have to worry about that stuff as average people.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, it's good to be informed, but like Oprah's views on that aren't public. They don't need to be.
No, I think enough's enough with actors or musicians or anything gonna run. Like I think it's Kid Rock is running for like Senate in or I don't know, governor of Michigan or something like that.
Some
He's
sort of
running for
political office.
Yeah, it's like Jesus Christ, like why? But like, the problem is people are so popular they get voted in. It's like Trump, he's a figure. Everybody knows who he is. So of course he gets voted in. But I don't know.
And that's not to say some of these people couldn't be good politicians, but the thing is,
maybe they could be. I don't know, but
we need more of a basis to say, hey, this is the person I have faith in. They're going to do a good job. They're going to turn things around. I have faith in their views on this and this and this.
yeah,
It's bizarre.
I just think leave the politics for the politicians, and that's that.
The crazy thing, though, is that like in the early days, like when the United States was first forming, there was no such thing as like a career politician. Like if you look at some of the early founding fathers, they all had like they were all wealthy and they had careers obviously outside of politics. Like some of them ran their own businesses, were like railroad tycoons and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't know if that's exactly it, but things like that. They had their own sort of business empires, right? There was no such thing as a career politician until later on in life. Now you can go to school and study political science.
Yeah, you can, which will get you nowhere. But
Right? Unless you become a politician.
yeah,
Maybe we'll have some political science majors listening and want to email us. If you do, it's scruffcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us or tweet us on Twitter, which is just @scruffcast, SCRUFFcast. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, I can't imagine there's any sort of concerns.
there might be some.
I don't know. We're covering some heavy topics today.
What do we got next? Are we done? Yeah, we're done. With that.
That's enough of that.
Yeah. Okay. Next.
All right. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the future.
Oh boy.
I want to hear your thoughts on artificial intelligence, AI for short. And what do you think of how things are right now, like the way things are looking in the future?
It's no bueno for me.
You're taking the no
and
bueno
I
this
stole
week?
the no bueno
Damn.
this week. Ba-boom.
That's a new catchphrase.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Like, I don't know too much about it, but I don't know. It freaks me out a little bit. Like, there's that robot in Saudi Arabia who got citizenship there.
Yes, I heard about this.
So what does that mean? Does she have, the same rights as a human does?
I don't know.
I don't know how it works. You know what I mean? Anyway, I think you got a story to tell though about AI, do you not?
Yeah, but I kind of want to go more into my thoughts on AI first. I read a book earlier last year. It was called Superintelligence. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the author, but he sort of talks about the different ways AI could take over, or the different ways a very powerful AI could form, right? So there's the idea of this superintelligence, which is an artificial intelligence that would become smarter than humans, right? Mm-hmm. And the dangerous thing is that once we can create, if you take the smartest humans on Earth, right, these people working on AI, and they can create an artificial intelligence smarter than themselves, then it's game over. Because if the smartest humans made this thing and it's smarter than them,
Yeah.
then in theory, this AI could make an AI smarter than itself. And so on and so forth. And then you have like an artificial intelligence explosion and just takes off. in ways unprecedented to us.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a little scary. Like the whole thing, even just the little like Google Homes and Amazon. What's on Alexa?
Yeah,
Alexa. Even that stuff kind of creeps me out a little bit because it's always listening to you. Every little word you say, it's listening, and it's feeding it back to Amazon. It's feeding it back to Google.
Even if they don't use the data.
Yeah, exactly.
Necessarily,
They know what
it's
you're
still
talking
there.
about.
It's still getting sent back. It's being used for advertisements and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And pretty similar, like on a very similar topic to this. There's been a lot of cases I've heard of people thinking, "Oh, is Facebook listening to you when you're talking around your phone and
I've
using
heard
it
of
for
this.
advertisements?" It's very interesting because a couple people I work with were talking about this one day, and what really triggered their curiosity about this was one guy was talking to somebody else about like some obscure 80s TV show or something. And unfortunately, I can't remember what it is. But a couple days later, this thing that he had never talked about like before.
yeah.
A couple days later, he started getting ads related to this thing show up on Facebook in his newsfeed. And it's like, how would they know?
Yeah. This
Right?
thing he's never talked about before.
Is your
for a
phone's
while,
microphone listening to you? Right? And
Yeah.
using the information it's hearing about for
Probably.
advertisements. Now, the way they've sort of developed this app ecosystem on phones, the permissions that apps have access to is very explicit. So if an app wants to use your microphone, it needs to notify you. At least that's the
Yes.
way it works on Android. I believe iPhone is the same way.
the same, yeah.
Because a lot of privacy concerns, right? I've seen cases of people who put out like a flashlight app right before they were built into the phones like they are now with a little toggle. There used to be flashlight apps on the App Store. You download it, right? You hit a button, turns on your phone's flash, right?
Yeah.
It's a flashlight. Well, I've heard cases of these apps harvesting user data, right? Like recording you on your microphone or getting your contacts or your
my
email
God.
list,
Yeah.
right? Because you just say, "Oh, accept,"
Yeah.
because you don't want to bother reading any of the stuff. Nobody does, but
No.
it has this data, and then it would send it to like a third-party advertisement firm, right? And that's how the person who made the app got paid, right? That's how they made their money.
Yeah.
So they made a free flashlight app, and then had millions of downloads. They're making a decent buck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people are none the wiser. So with Facebook, right, you would explicitly turn that permission off. No, the phone cannot listen to me,
Yeah.
right? But yet still, it seems like it's listening.
Yeah.
So there's a theory. Another guy I work with was telling me he was doing some research about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's videos on YouTube of people doing experiments where one guy had his phone and he just talked about kitty litter for like 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Into the camera, talking to his viewers, saying, "All right, I'm going to talk about kitty litter now, blah, blah, blah." And as our phones are sitting around near us, I wouldn't be surprised if we start getting kitty litter
Oh
ads.
my God, imagine.
But he sat there and he started talking about a specific brand of kitty litter, like, "Oh, kitty litter this, kitty litter that, blah, blah, blah," right? Really hammering on with the kitty litter to prove that, he made a follow-up video not too long after, probably within the same week, and he started getting kitty litter ads.
Jesus Christ.
And the crazy part is, if I'm not giving permission to Facebook, how are they getting the data?
Yeah.
So some people's theory is that because Facebook's gone on the record and said, "No, our app is not recording you,"
Right.
which is fair, and like that would be really shady. You wouldn't expect that, right? Although
Yeah,
you never
yeah.
know. The theory on how they get away with that and them telling the truth, "No, our app's not recording you at all," is it's actually the phone manufacturers like Apple and Samsung and HTC and
They're
these
recording
guys.
you and feeding the data.
They're
too.
recording you. They package up the data, and they send it back to Facebook. Totally done outside of the app. So Facebook's like, "No, we didn't record you at all." And technically it's true. They let Apple record you, and then they send the data back,
Yeah.
which is really bizarre.
That is shady, man. Yeah, I don't like. I don't know. It's all freaky, man. Even cameras and stuff like that. I think I was listening to something, and they were saying now they're going to be making like cameras that are like the size of like grains of sand that they're going to be able to make.
That's
so there could be
crazy.
a camera anywhere. You'd never know.
You never know.
You could always be being watched. Well, the phone's now always listened to.
Well, funny enough, I just finished reading a book called No Place to Hide, I believe, or maybe Nowhere to Hide, but I think it's No Place to Hide by Glenn Greenwald. And it was about Edward Snowden and how he came out with those leaks about 4 or 5 years ago now about the NSA in the U.S. and how they're spying on everybody pretty much. Like, if they want, they're listening in on our podcast right now. right, as it's being recorded, right, if it's streaming over the internet. And basically this massive surveillance they're doing on everybody. If you call somebody, they have the record of your number, the other person's number, how long the call was, your location, all this stuff. And he just like had these bombshell like whistleblowings. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if that's a term, but
maybe, I don't know.
Revelations, I guess. And it's insane the amount of data they store, right? And it's not just the U.S. They partner with Canada. They partner with the British GCHQ, which is like their sort of NSA, right? Like all these different countries around the world, right? They partner with countries to help them spy, but they also spy on these countries back. It's like insane. Nothing you do is really hidden.
I read something the other day about there was a website coming out of Russia that they found that was like picking up streams of like cameras, like security cameras. So one was at like I think it was a bank, just like security cameras there, people's webcams, and it was streaming on this website, and people could just click on and watch you.
I've heard of stuff like this before.
Things, right?
I didn't know that they would have things like from inside of banks. I know there's ones with like traffic cameras.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that's what was a bank or a store or something like that.
But even still,
right?
Inside of a building like this, it's scary
Yeah,
stuff.
they can just tap into the camera, and like that doesn't surprise me that people can do that kind of stuff. But like, what is frustrating is when it's maybe government doing that kind of stuff,
and that's exactly
big,
the case.
Huge major companies, right? If it's just some guy sitting in his house just wanting to creep on people's webcams and he knows how to do it, then whatever it is, you're never going to stop that.
But the scary part about the government is that they can't be stopped, right?
Yeah, no.
And they partner with these companies like Google and Facebook, and they say, hey, we want access to this stuff. And they just have everything. Any text message you've ever sent, all these Facebook messages, your Google searches, everything. It's insane the amount of data they have. Even if you're not in the U.S., well, first off, it's one thing if a country spies on people outside of the country, but the U.S. is spying on its own U.S. citizens. And I'm sure Canada's spying on their own Canadian citizens, the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Spying on your own citizens. And there's an amendment directly in the U.S. Constitution that says you can't be spied on. You need warrants and stuff like this.
Right.
So it goes right against the Constitution. And the government doesn't really do anything about it. And then now Edward Snowden's like on the run. And first he was in Hong Kong, and then he went to Russia. And I'm not really sure what he's up to now.
He's on the run still?
Well, he can't come back to the U.S. ever.
Okay.
Right? I don't think he's actively on the run, but he's got like political asylum somewhere. He was holed up in Russia for a long time.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. He pretty much like threw his life away. But I saw a story. He like made some app recently, and people in the comments on Twitter were like, "Yeah, right. Like I downloaded an app from this guy. He's a traitor." And I'm like, "Do people not understand?"
Yeah,
that
exactly.
He threw his life away to tell you that you're all getting spied on.
Yeah, he's giving away government secrets,
right?
so technically he's a traitor. But he's doing it for the people.
The secret is that hey, the government's spying on everybody.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy. He was saying that the people who worked at the NSA were totally going to get on NSA lists right now, by the way, but for exposing this, even though it's been talked about a long time.
Made a movie about it.
Yeah, there was a good documentary about it, which I believe used footage from this journalist that wrote the book. Oh. And he was saying people worked at the NSA. You could, they had access to just search for stuff. So you want to type in, like, ScruffCast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
It would show all the emails or any sort of internet activity related to our email. So if that email was used to, like, sign in to an account or something, that would all be tracked.
And could they, like, read our emails?
They can.
Oh, my God.
They can read your own emails.
What's the point of having a password?
Messages. They can read your text messages. They could read everything. It's insane. But another thing
we're
he
gonna
said
start getting carrier pigeons again. Like that's the only way we're gonna have to deliver messages to each other from here on out.
It's crazy. One of the craziest things I read in the book was that they're doing this with companies that are cooperating with them, like Facebook and Google, who are like willingly giving your data away. Not that they really have much choice because the government's probably strong arming them into it. But a company, Cisco, they make routers. Not the guy who made the thong song. That's a different Cisco. And the NSA actually had operation going on where they would take these Cisco routers that were made, open them up before they were put on store shelves, bug them with something, like flash them with a certain software, repackage them, and then resend them back out. So Cisco didn't even know what was going on. And then now you put these routers up in your home, and then when they get some sort of internet data that comes in from your internet service provider, it would be forked. So one would go to you like normal you're expecting, and a clone of it would go over to the NSA, and they're logging it. Like, this Cisco router over here is doing this. Like, it's really bizarre, like shady stuff.
Man, Yeah, that stuff freaks me out, man.
It's definitely freaky. As I was reading this book, I was like, man, it's like this is unstoppable.
Yeah, everybody's always being watched. And like sometimes with these conspiracies and stuff, I kind of think I think some people blow it out of proportion a little bit with certain things.
Yeah.
But I think there's more stuff like celebrity deaths and stuff. Oh, it was Illuminati killed them. I think that stuff's a little crazy. But I think a lot of this government stuff is...
Yeah, this NSA stuff is like
to it, right?
is like undeniable
Clearly.
fact.
Yeah.
Right? Like thousands of documents were leaked. And I just read the book. It's called No Place to Hide by Glenn Greenwald. And if you want to start the ScruffCast book club, that could be our first book.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
But yeah, that was a bit of a heavy topic.
Yeah.
We've been covering the heavy topics this week, Dan.
We're on fire.
What fire?
But speaking of countries and stuff, the 2018 Winter Olympics is coming up soon.
Yes, next month.
And as hockey fans, we are disappointed to announce the men's Olympic rosters. We're not going to announce them, but...
The Canadian, well, I suppose, and the U.S. Olympic men's hockey team rosters for the Olympics.
So if anybody doesn't know
terrible.
about it, the NHL did not allow its players to go to the Olympics. So since 1998, I think it was, all NHL players have been going to the Olympics to participate in the men's hockey. But this year, the NHL and the Olympic Committee or IIHF, whatever, couldn't come to an agreement, so the NHL players aren't going. So essentially, it's not going to be best on best. It's going to be like semi-best on semi-best. But the European League, Swedish Elite League, KHL, they are all still going.
Yes, well, with the KHL, it's the big Russian league, and Russia had its own sort of scandal, like doping scandal with the Olympics, so they were banned from going. But their athletes can still go, but not under Russia, in air quotes here, but as a neutral, like, non-country flag.
Yeah.
But I think the Russian government, Vladimir Putin, can still sort of send some money their way and be like, hey, go win.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Realistically, they should have been, you know what I mean, banned entirely. They shouldn't even be allowed to come, but it's whatever.
But I almost feel like it's kind of unfair to some of the athletes, because if, you're a kosher athlete, if you will, you've been going by the book, right, following your training regimen, no sort of cheating or
they're the ones that get
performance-enhancing
screwed. So I
drugs
guess
like
that's
this, you
what
get
the Olympics.
screwed.
That's what the Olympics wants to do, right? Is
Yeah.
to allow those people in, because it's not fair to them. But I don't know.
But I feel like the whole thing of the NHL not letting the players go to the Olympics is antithetical to the whole idea of the Olympics. When I think of the Olympics, it's supposed to be the world's best.
Yeah, best on
The
best
world's
tournament.
best competing. Yeah. And when you look at the Canadian men's Olympic hockey roster, it's like maybe two players I've heard of.
Oh,
and we
is
like
pretty
hockey.
Weak.
We're pretty big hockey fans.
Yeah.
And these are like, that guy? He still plays hockey?
Yeah, I know. You get some of these Canadians who weren't good enough for the NHL anymore, and they go over to Europe and play, and those are the kind of guys that are going to be on this team. And you know what? The American team's pretty much the same, too.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same idea as the Canadian team, right? The European teams, I think, they'll be okay because the European leagues are pretty good, but here in North America, the NHL's the top league.
It's the top of the league. I can't remember any time a player made the team that wasn't from the NHL. At least the Canadian or the U.S.
Canadian,
team.
yeah.
Some of the Russian players come from the KHL.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I don't know if it's ever happened in a year where the NHL has allowed them to go.
Yeah, it's gonna be. So it's. I don't know. I think it's gonna be very disappointing. It's gonna be a disappointing tournament. And
it's. I barely even want to watch.
Yeah, it's frustrating because that's something I think, as a hockey fan, it's something you look forward to every 4 years. You know, it's not like this is a yearly thing. It's every 4 years we get to watch this, right? And now we're not going to be able to see the best on best, and that kind of sucks.
I feel bad for some of the players who are a little older now, that when the next Olympics rolls around in 4 years, in the next Winter Olympics, they probably won't even be able to make the team, and now they're missing out on their last chance. Like one player I think of specifically, Steven Stamkos. He didn't get to go last year, the last Olympics 4 years ago,
because of his leg.
He broke his leg, so he missed out. And then now he's missing out again. And by the time the next Olympic rolls around, he's like at 31 or 32.
Yeah, well, he's got a chance.
He might still make it. But
look at a guy like Crosby. You know what I mean?
He's up there about now. He's about 30 as well.
31 this year.
So 35.
The next one rolls around, he'll be 34, 35. You know,
still
he may not make it. Like
with the way that the young kids now are coming up and they're so fast in the game.
He'll be like 34 by the time the next one.
And he would have
38. Sorry, I think he's 34 now.
He would have been a lock for the team this year, first line for sure. So it's definitely disappointing. Not really
disappointing.
to go into the specifics of who would have made the team and who wouldn't, but the thing that rubs me the wrong way is just the fact that the Olympics are supposed to be the best of the best. And now we're just sending the B squad out there.
Yeah. So speaking of B squads, then, since the hockey's doing it,
Yes.
if you were allowed to participate, John, in a event in the Winter Olympics, which one do you think you can participate in?
Which one do I think I could? Like, if I had to prepare and get ready, or which would I rather? I guess we could answer both.
We can answer both.
So, I can't even skate. Spoilers, listeners. But obviously, I would like to be on the hockey team. But if it was a sport, I think if I prepared, the one that would take the least amount of time to join, I don't know, maybe like cross country skiing.
Oh, you need some serious endurance, I think, for cross country skiing.
You need endurance, but like, well, we didn't say we're gonna win.
Oh, okay, that's true. Well,
But-
you
well-
got to make it there.
Well, that's true. How far do these guys ski? It's like tens of kilometers.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. Oh, yeah,
On some
yeah.
of these, or maybe we'll pick another one. Maybe like the skeet shooting,
The what?
like the skeet shooting one where you.
Oh, skeet shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think
I think there's a little bit of skiing there, and then you kind of lay down to the rifle shooting.
Oh, like yeah, okay. I think I would choose. I don't know I don't even know what it's called. It's like the skiing where they go down the massive hill and they jump off, and their like skis almost touch their forehead.
I think it's just ski jumping.
Ski jumping.
High jumping?
I would do that. I think because I know how to ski. So I would just go down a hill and poof, jump off, and then that's it.
I think the jumping is the easy part. I think the landing is the hard part.
Oh yeah.
One bad landing, you get split right in half.
Or those knees will pop out the back.
The knees pop out the
Launch
back.
30 feet the other way.
I think that'd be rough.
Or speed skating, maybe. I
Speed
think I would
skating?
look good in those tights.
Oh boy, you need to be really aerodynamic. I think you'd have a better.
It's
I think,
like,
I think I'd have a better chance.
bobsledding. There's like bobsledding. There's skeleton. There's all that kind of stuff.
Like the luge. One Olympic Olympic athlete died. Like
I think it
was
was
it
in
4 years
Vancouver?
ago or 8 years ago?
Wasn't that the Vancouver Olympics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the crazy part
Oh my
was like
God,
they
that
were
was 8
showing
years ago.
they were showing the clip on TV.
Yeah.
I remember I watched the highlights and they showed it. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
geez, they just showed this guy die on national television. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's like a Logan Paul moment.
Those. We said we were done with it.
Yeah, no more. They're never coming up again.
Jesus. I think bobsledding would be fun. Imagine we just get us two, a couple buddies, and hop in a little sled. You fly down.
Well,
the hill.
they have. Like,
I know it's a lot more.
they have 2-man bobsled teams, so we could have a
ScruffCast.
ScruffCast wholly owned team.
Bobsled team. I like the sounds of that.
Yep, we can start our
A GoFundMe page.
a GoFundMe. We can start our fundraising here.
For our
Get listeners
Bobcast
to
team.
write in, send us checks. We'll set up a PO box. Now, what do you like better, the Winter Olympics or the Summer Olympics?
Well, I think originally it was winter because of hockey. But I don't know, the summer seems to have not better athletes, but almost like more well-known athletes when you think of like Usain Bolt, Michael Phelps and stuff like that, right? Because like Olympic athletes, they usually don't get like, famous in a sense.
That's
There's
true.
like the odd person here and there, right?
Yeah.
Like Caitlyn Jenner or Bruce Jenner,
Yeah.
Donovan Bailey, stuff like that, right? But like you got like Usain Bolt, and they were all runners too, actually. But like Usain Bolt and Michael Phelps and stuff like that, right? I feel like you don't get that through winter sports.
Outside of hockey players, the only Winter Olympic athlete that stands out in my mind is like Shaun White, snowboarder.
Yeah.
That's
I know
it.
there's like been some big name like figure skaters and stuff too, right?
That's true as well.
But
That's true.
Yeah, that's really about it. So I don't know. I don't mind watching the swimming in the Olympics. Maybe it's because of Michael Phelps. I don't know.
Now, if you had to pick a Summer Olympic sport to do, which do you think
my
you'd be best
God.
at? I got my answer.
100-meter
locked in.
sprint.
100-meter sprint?
Yeah,
No. I don't think so.
I could give it a shot.
I could give it a shot too.
I don't think I can do anything else.
I don't know.
You know?
No, there's just one Olympic.
Shot put, is that even Olympic?
Yeah, that
It
is.
is, okay.
Javelin. Yeah, throw it. Maybe not very far. That seems like a dangerous one though. If you're not.
I
really
don't think I
prepared.
can throw that far.
Well, there's this one Olympic sport. I don't remember what it's called, but I believe Canada won the gold medal in the men's one
yeah.
2 years ago, and it's sort of like rhythmic gymnastics or dancing, but on a horse. It's like the horse is just kind of dancing around. I don't remember what it's called, but that's like.
So is it the horse that dances around?
Yeah, you're
So
right.
the horse wins the medal.
Well, the horse probably should,
Oh yeah, he's doing the dancing.
but you're riding the horse, but you're like just confined to like a smaller area, and you're just sort of like trotting around, like do 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 do. Like I don't remember what it's called, but in terms of physical fitness, I think that's probably the easiest one to jump into.
Yeah,
might need some technique. I mean,
I'm shocked that that's an Olympic sport.
I cannot remember what it's called, but
Horse
Canada
dancing.
won. I think Canada won. Some sort of horse dancing one. I do not remember what it's called.
Yeah, that is. I've never heard of that.
Do you find yourself tuning in when the Olympics are on TV? Watching just the random events, or not really?
You know what? Winter? Never, actually.
Really?
The Winter Olympics, I don't at all, except for hockey. That's the only thing I tune into. Maybe I'm just so focused on hockey that I couldn't care less about anything else.
I love the Olympics.
summer where I don't have like a sport in the. And then again, they had golf this time around.
That is true.
But beside like in years previous, like, tune in here and there. I know my sister is really big, and she was really big into swimming and stuff like that. So she was interested. So when she was living at home before, she would always kind of throw it on, and so I think that's how I started kind of watching it a little bit. Right. So the swimming is pretty entertaining.
I always love sort of watching the random events. So the last couple of years, like 2 years ago, it was in Brazil, but before that, it was in Beijing. And so the time zone difference was really big. There was another one in between. Oh, there was one in London.
Oh, London
as well.
Yeah,
I believe
yeah,
2014.
Yeah. 2012.
Or no, sorry, 2012. Yeah. 2008 was Beijing.
Beijing,
I think. So there was a big time zone difference. I'm a bit of a night owl, so I'm always staying up late, right? So the events were always on randomly at night, right? When I'm going to bed, if it's like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, because I'm not getting, good amount of sleep. And they just have everything. Everything you can ever imagine. Like, this is a sport, and I'm watching, and I'm just like blown away. Like, wow, these people are really good at this.
Yeah.
Obviously, this the world's best, right?
Yeah.
And there's so much stuff. It's just so entertaining. And I just thought of another sport, actually. I don't know how fit you got to be. Probably pretty fit. But there's like speed walking. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I have seen
the walk around the track. The bizarre part is everybody's so tightly congested, so close together.
Almost tripping over each other.
Yeah, one guy blows out his Nike Air Pumps. Poof! There goes like 13 people, right?
Yeah.
And there's like a certain rule where like you can only have a certain amount of your foot can only be off the ground for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, because like they go fast.
They do.
Like they go quick, but they're speed walking. They're not running.
They're getting their shin
jogging
splints.
Shin splints.
You know, when you're trying to run to catch the train, or you got to catch the bus or something, and you're like, oh. That tells you a little bit about our fitness level right there.
Yeah.
Speaking of like crazy Olympic events, though, so the Special Olympics were on earlier this year, and actually saw they do like track and field events where they're running around for the athletes who are blind, and they actually have guides that run with them.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Which is pretty crazy, but it's like a totally different world compared to the regular Olympics. I was watching the event, and the guys were almost at the end, right? And it was like a long event too. And I think there was only like the 3 of them left, or the 3 guys who were ahead, and they didn't even care about winning. They were like, "Let's hold hands," and they all ran together and finished the last 100.
So much more peaceful than
so much more peaceful.
Else.
It was like kind of sad. I was like, man, these guys don't even care. They're just having a fun time. Yeah. They're just happy to be out
happy
here.
to be competing.
It was bizarre. So they have like each one, and then their the guide who helps them around the track, right? Just sort of holds their hand as they're going around and make sure they make the turns and stuff like that. The 6 of them just go across the last 100 meters. They're so peaceful. They're just happy to win. Nobody.
Yeah.
No care in the world.
Well, look at this. We started the podcast off, talking about some horrible things, and we ended it with blind people hugging and holding hands,
achieving
crossing the
their
finish
dreams.
line. Yeah.
That was very,
nice.
very nice way to end it.
That was a nice way to end it.
I'd say so.
Yeah. Anyway, all in all, the hockey's going to be disappointing. I think everybody can agree, unless you're Russian. But then again, they don't even have a team, so
yeah,
I think it's going to be disappointing for everybody.
It's going to be a letdown for sure.
But you never know. South Korea may have a real shot at winning.
That would be awesome.
At least medaling, Who knows? We'll see.
I'd love to see one of those scrappy teams win.
Yeah.
Romania? Boo, new Olympic superstars. Then they go back and they're like, superstars.
We are hot stuff Romanian hockey players.
Right, and they're in music videos. They become new celebrities.
Yeah.
Oh, Romanov, Chekhov. New superstar.
Yeah. I don't know.
That would be awesome. I like to see the underdogs win.
Well, I think that's it for the podcast this week.
Gonna wrap it up. We start off a little down, but we'll pick things up near the end.
Yep.
So
anyway, one more
shameless plug.
One more plug, John.
So if you enjoyed the episode, you want to write in and tell us how great we are, or maybe you're like, you guys don't know anything about Aziz Ansari, you can write us in and tell us about that too. It's scruffcast@gmail.com, SCRUFFcast. You can also follow us on Twitter @ScruffCast, spelled the same way. And I think that does it for this week.
And also, one more, Patterns, the intro song to this podcast. Check him out. He's pretty good.
I'll try to put a link.
He's very good.
Try to put a link in the show notes.
Yeah.
And if you're watching on YouTube, because we also post this as a video with just a static image on YouTube, I'll put it in the description as well.
Perfect.
All right, this has been a rambly outro, but I think that wraps it up.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll
See
catch
you
you next week.
Later.